Whether it's by movies or TV shows, everybody has at some point seen a police chase. But what actually happens behind the scenes of a true vehicle pursuit? Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you are having a fantastic week so far. I get asked a lot what happens during vehicle pursuits. Vehicle pursuits have been going on since cars first came out. Obviously, the reason why police officers get into chases is because somebody doesn't want to go to jail. And people ask me all the time, what is the biggest reason why people run from you? Now, based on my experience over the last 10 years, there's really 3 reasons most people are going to run from you. Number 1, they either have a suspended license or no license at all. They have warrants or they have drugs in the car. But what actually happens during the police chase from start to finish from the officer's perspective? Obviously, the first thing is usually witnessing some sort of traffic violation. And I say usually because sometimes there's other reasons. Maybe you spotted a car that was put out in a bolo earlier for a robbery or shoplifting. Or maybe you just know that person without a doubt has a suspended license because you just arrested them last week for the same thing. Either way, you're behind this person now and you decide that you are going to pull them over. Well, so you thought. After making traffic stops for so many years now, guys, it is hard not to be complacent. And I'll be the first to admit, there have been several times where I have gotten complacent and I was thrown a curveball. Depending on the area that you work as an officer, you might get into a chase once every 3 years, or there are other areas where officers get into chases almost every single night. But that aside, you are about to pull over the vehicle of your choosing. You start calling it out to dispatch and you activate your emergency lights. One of 2 things is going to happen in a chase usually. They're either going to keep going at the same speed and just not pull over, or the vehicle will visually speed up. Normally, when people maintain the same speed, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they are looking for a spot to pull over in. However, with that being said, if we have passed like 3 gas stations and 2 parking lots that you could have pulled into, it's now considered a chase. So I don't get too excited right away if they just don't stop. But if I visually see the car speeding up as I activate my equipment, that, my friends, is what we call an adrenaline dump. So again, the first thing that happens during a chase would just be like any other traffic stop. You're calling out the vehicle description, tag, make, model, color, and how many occupants to dispatch. So hypothetically, let's say you turn on your equipment and this vehicle speeds up. After a few moments, and especially after some experience, you'll know when you're in a chase. In Georgia, that's when you notify dispatch that you are in a 1080. Now, if you guys remember from my previous videos, especially the 10 codes videos, 1080 is used interchangeably as a vehicle chase or a chase on foot. Usually the way it's used with us, the way we use it, is either 1080, which is a vehicle, or if they get out on foot, it'll be 1080 on foot. The next thing that's going to happen after you call 1080 is your sergeant's going to get on the radio and they are going to ask you a series of questions. Usually the first thing they're going to ask you is, what are you stopping that person for? Now, the reason why they ask you that is because the severity of the original purpose for the stop can't outweigh the risk to public endangerment. So basically, if you are stopping somebody for, let's say, a tail light out, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, kids are getting out of school, there's kids crossing the crosswalk, you don't want to be responsible for a child getting hurt. So a lot of times, if you are driving through a school zone or you're coming up on one, the supervisor, it's kind of their responsibility to call that chase off. Now, another thing to keep in mind is an officer usually, I don't know about other states, an officer can usually end their own stop. So if you feel it's unnecessary, it's just creating unnecessary danger, you yourself can call off the stop. The next thing the supervisor is going to ask you during the chase is, what are your weather conditions, traffic conditions, what are the road conditions? So is it raining, and how much traffic is on the road right now? Again, it's all about safety. So if it's a hugely congested area, there's traffic everywhere, and you've got this guy going 110 miles an hour, somebody is going to get hurt. And more departments are worried about liability now, so they're more than likely going to end that chase. There are also some departments that will stay with the vehicle, and in the meantime, they'll call a state trooper, and a few state troopers will come out, and once they engage the person that's in the chase, that's when the local PD will kind of back off. Troopers will chase you until their wheels fall off. Assuming that the chase is authorized, right? There's certain procedures and precautionary measures that need to be taken during the chase, and this is kind of the behind the scenes stuff that happens that maybe you've seen on cops, but it wasn't really explained to you. So usually the lead officer in a chase, you call out your chase, other units are coming to your location, right? Pretty much every cop in the vicinity is on the way to you. So once other units have kind of joined into this chase, usually the lead vehicle does not call anything out on the radio. Usually by procedure, the second vehicle that's in the chase, that's behind you, is the one to call out all the radio traffic so you can focus on that car. You're looking for evidence that's being thrown out. If there's drugs, you let them know on the radio, hey, he just tossed a white bag out the window at the corner of 6th and Maple. And it's also important for the lead vehicle to see if they can spot any weapons. A lot of times they'll throw weapons out of the car, or they could just reach out and start firing off shots. Depending on the area that you are at, some departments pit, other departments don't pit. But whether a pit maneuver happens or not really depends on, again, it's all about public safety. It's always going to go back to the public safety. So if you are able to pit somebody and they're not going to strike any other vehicles or cause any danger to anybody innocent, usually you will be authorized to pit. So as far as pit procedures go, it's very different in every state. It changes from departments. Some officers are taught in the academy to pit and they're considered pit certified. Other officers have been officers for years and they've never been to pit school and they're not certified and they would not be able to do that. But again, the whole purpose of a pit maneuver is to end the chase. But you also, again, it always goes back to public safety. You have to be mindful of the public. So if you're about to do a pit maneuver, but this guy's about to spin out and strike 2-3 other cars, you don't want anybody innocent getting hurt. So you want to wait for the opportune time to hit that vehicle, get them to spin out, close them in, box them in, and make the arrest. Another tactic that's used are the spike strips. Now, spike strips are very dangerous. I've seen officers get hit while they're throwing out the spikes. Suspect vehicles trying to avoid the spikes, they hit the officer. I've been in situations where I have thrown out spike strips and it's very nerve-wracking. It's very nerve-wracking because all it takes is for them to swerve a little bit and you're done. Your legs are taken out. So I try to position myself behind some sort of concrete barrier or like maybe the metal barriers or whatever to put something between me and the suspect vehicle in case they decide to do something stupid. So once the spike strips have worked, the vehicle will start coming to a slow roll. You know, they'll be on their rims and stuff. And usually people will give up by that point or they're going to get out of the car and try to run somewhere. So usually by this point we are about to effect an arrest. The chances of you getting away by running on foot when you have like 20 cops following behind you, I'll tell you right now, it's very slim to none and not the smartest move you can make. So usually once we effect the arrest, we do an inventory or a search of the vehicle, and that's where we find our contraband, and we usually find out what you were running for, and everything comes to an end. So from that point, your vehicle is impounded, you are taken to jail and booked on, in Georgia anyway, a felony charge. So that is it, guys. That is how a police chase works behind the scenes. It's very exciting, but it's very, very dangerous. Over the years, I've been involved in several vehicle chases, and every single one of them is a huge adrenaline dump. And it's you almost start taking it personally. Like, this person is supposed to pull over. That's what people do. I pull over whenever somebody stops me. So you almost kind of take it personally. And I think a lot of officers let that get to them. You know, you have to stay professional in this line of work. You have to maintain your temper and control. And, you know, there's officers that I've seen that have lost their temper and maybe stepped over bounds, and they've gotten in trouble for that. You know, police agencies are cracking down on police brutality, especially with body cams and everything. We are being watched very closely. And as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, you shouldn't have a problem with that. I have no problem being watched. I have no problem having a body cam. But it's the officers that, you know, people that have something to hide that are going to have some issues. But either way, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Hopefully that answered some questions as far as what happens during a pursuit. If you have any other questions that maybe I didn't cover in the video, feel free to put your comments in the comment section below and I'll try to address them accordingly. I'm going to be doing a private live stream for my Patreon subscribers tomorrow, and I'm going to start doing some more public live streams. So if you are not a Patreon member, sign up today at patreon.com/officer401. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys very, very soon.